Hey everyone, welcome back to the Magnum channel. We're going to talk a little bit about chokes today. So as you can see here, it's kind of hard to read those, but just to clear up the choke confusion, a lot of people seem to be confused as to what choke goes where or what how that relates to what shot or shotguns and wads. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Here's the improved cylinder choke on the left. You can see that it says improved cylinder. So switch these two around. Modified and then full choke. And that's usually the order you see them in. There is other steps between those. But these are your three basic chokes. Like I said, and there are some that have steps between them. But if you can't really tell, that's really thin, it's a little thicker, and that's even thicker. It might get better if you look at them from a distance. But basically, your improved cylinder choke is for really close range work. Anything between 0 and 10 yards, or even a little past 10 yards. Modified choke is kind of a good all-around choke. It's from 10 to 20 yards, maybe a little further even. And then it'll definitely reach out further with some loads. And then a full choke is for going out to 30 or 35 yards and beyond. So those are your three basic chokes. And then what I have over here is the Carlson's, I don't know if you can quite read that, Carlson's Waterfowl choke system. So this is, by the way, it's rolling away here. This is a Carlson's Coyote choke tube. I don't know if you can see right there. It has a C on it for Coyote, and that basically is a super full choke tube. So that's basically, it's even a little bit tighter than this full choke over here. So what these are is an aftermarket version. I can get them open here. It's an aftermarket version of those are the Mossberg factory chokes you were just looking at. These are the Carlson Waterfowl choke tubes. So basically these are just an aftermarket version of the same thing. They just pattern a little better. They're easier to put in and out because they add an extra inch or half an inch to the gun. And so we're going to pattern a few today and just show you the differences. Okay guys, as you can see there, we're right at 23 yards, 24 yards for this video. Okay, so as you saw just a second ago there, we got you set up about 23 yards away. And I do have the camera zoomed in a little bit, so it may not look like 23 yards on camera, but it is 23 yards. The test load today is this Federal high brass lead game load. This is number 4 shot. As you can see the picture of the pheasant on there. You could also use this for turkeys. It's got a fairly high muzzle velocity, but it has a very regular wad, so it will do just fine for conventional chokes. The first choke we're going to pattern is this Carlson's close range choke. There we go. This Carlson's close range choke, which would be very close or similar to a improved cylinder choke. Next up is the mid-range choke. This is good for anywhere from, I don't know, 10 to 25 yards maybe. This is a good all-around choke. You see a lot of fixed modified shotgun chokes. So this is next up at the middle board. The last up is the long-range choke, or a full choke. And we're going to fire this at the board on the right. This is good for 30 yards and beyond. Okay, so we're going to hit the target on the left with the close range choke. Improved cylinder from 25 yards. Okay, so next up is the modified choke at the Centreboard. Modified, synonymous with mid-range. Okay, so here the target's downrange. This is the very first one. So this is the close range choke, or the improved cylinder choke. If you have a trap shotgun, you may have a skeet choke, which would be even wider than this. You may also have a cylinder choke, just cylinder bore. So skeet, cylinder bore are both wide open more than improved cylinder. This is improved cylinder, which is one of the most common open chokes in a field shotgun. So that's what that looks like at 25 yards, number 4 shot, like you might use on a pheasant or something. You can see you're still getting plenty of shot on the board even at 25 yards. So now we're going to move over here. And on the modified choke, you can see my aim was not quite on. Looks like my center of 0 was about right there is where the pattern looks to be centered. So at any rate, this was not the best shot, but this was the modified choke. So it is tightening up a little bit. You can see in the center of the hit up there towards the corner where it's definitely tighter patterning than some of the rest of it. But a little more constricted for sure than the improved cylinder. So you definitely notice a tighter concentration there in the center of the pattern. So now we're going to move over to the full choke. Moving over to the full choke looks like right about there, just a little off center, and to the right was my hold there. So you can see that the full choke, you've got almost the entire shot. In fact, we might have the entire shot on the board. So the center of the pattern is really, really tight. You have a ton of pellets in there, and they're also going to retain a little more energy that way. So
okay, so looking at the 3 boards together, if you've been confused by chokes and choke differences, hopefully this helps. You can see the different patterns there. We've got our full choke, which we had the entire pattern on the board. We have our modified choke, which is for mid-range, and we have our improved cylinder choke, which is for close range.
okay, everybody, so now we're going to see if we can clear up the wad issue. For some people, the choke tube you're using is important. So if you're going to go goose hunting, you want a long-range choke tube because they tend to fly higher depending on what you're doing. Sometimes they'll be in close, but anyway, generally speaking, turkey hunting, goose hunting, you're going to be using a longer range choke. So just to clear up the confusion anymore, there's some ammunition that will do that for you, and it's actually best out of an improved cylinder or cylinder bore choke, as we just talked about what those chokes represent. It's the complete opposite of what you want. So right here in front of the camera, you're seeing some conventional wads, and what these wads are doing, regardless of what they are, is they all can be squashed. They all have these cuts in them, and they can all be squashed by your choke as it's leaving the barrel, and so that can be constricted down. This can help constrict the shot, and then it's going to peel away and allow your shot to be constricted by the choke. And so if you have a wide open choke, this is going to separate from the shot much sooner and look something like that on all 4 petals. When you recover, it'll be peeled way wide open like that. And so then what you see over here, this is a new Federal Flight Control Wad. And a Flight Control Wad is very, very different. You can see these weird little things that pop out the side here, and also these fins. It's got these fins on the back. And what the Flight Control Wad does is it is a rear, what they call a rear separating wad. And so as your shot is flying out the barrel, these little fins are stabilizing the shot, and as it flies too. And so all this is designed to stabilize the shot. It's also designed to help it stay on there. And then as the shot leaves the barrel, this is what's really doing your patterning for you, this wad right here. And so this is responsible for keeping it together and keeping it together longer. And then what this does is it drags and it separates from the rear and leaves the shot kind of in a column, keeping it together longer. So this is from those Federal Black Cloud loads that we just tested. The buckshot Flight Control Wads look very similar. They are slightly different. But you can see we have 2, using a conventional wad beside it, we have 2 very different wad designs. So there's a number of those to look out for. The Hornady Versatite wad is the same way. So now we have these rearward separating wads, and you have to watch out for. So if you're buying hunting ammo and you're not sure, the best thing to do is just to look on the box or on the website and just see what they recommend, what choke they recommend, or if there's special chokes for it, then you need to know if it responds. The Winchester Diamond Cut Wad, I know, is sort of a kind of a halfway rear separating wad like these, like the Flight Control, but they say it does respond to being choked, whereas this Flight Control Wad, if you choke that down, if you shoot that out like a full choke instead of a cylinder bore or improved cylinder choke, it just patterns horribly. Believe me, I've tried it. So you don't want to be doing that. Anytime you're using anything with Flight Control, Versatite wads, you want to be using an open choke, whereas something with this, something like this, a conventional wad, if you want to reach out and touch something, you're going to need a long-range choke of some sort of full choke. So hopefully that helps. So this has been our review of chokes and wads. Hopefully that helps make sense of it all. Like I said, on any given load, you just need to look up and see if it's a conventional. Most loads have conventional wads, but they're really specialized hunting loads like the Federal Black Cloud or something are likely that they could be a specialized wad, in which case you need to know what choke to use. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, or if you have questions, and thanks for watching.